All right, so we're looking at parts of a parabola. This shape right here is a parabola. We're just going to label that down here. It's pointing to the whole thing. If you, I felt like that was a little confusing the way that that was. So if you want to do this and like highlight the whole thing, just to make sure that you know that that's what that is, you can. I'll color code some other things later, but that's what the whole thing is called. And I'm not like a big stickler for spelling. You can just sound it out, and if it ends up parabola or something, it's not like the end of the world. There's a lot of A's. Just remember there's a lot of A's. Okay, so the next thing that we have, on the left side, this arrow is pointing to where it goes through the x-axis. We call that an x-intercept. This one over here is also pointing to an x-intercept. Those are going to be really important for the next batch of stuff that we're going to do. We will be working with quadratics for a little while, but that's the next thing that you'll be looking at as far as graphs go. Then this line down the middle, do you remember what it's called? Axis of symmetry. So that's pointing towards this dashed line. It's not a real part of the graph, which is why they make it a dashed line. It's an imaginary line of symmetry, divides it in half so you could fold it over on itself and make that line the fold. What do we call this special point right down here? Do you remember? The vertex. So if it opens the other way, the vertex is at the top. So when the vertex is on the bottom, this vertex is also the minimum for that quadratic function because it's the bottom. If you have one that's flipped over and it's the top, then they call it the maximum. It kind of makes sense. And then the last thing that they're pointing at, this is pointing at the point that goes through the y-axis. So what would we call that? The y-intercept. So those are most of the vocab that we've had. We are not right now going to worry about the directrix or the focus. We worry about that more after this class later on. This is the main things that we want to make sure that we know. We also need to be able to identify for any quadratic what the domain and range is of the function. So the domain basically is, are there any restrictions on your x's? So, no, I don't know what that means. So the domain is your x's. So we're going to look at the left end. It has an arrow that goes forever. It's continuous. It goes to an arrow going to the right. So the x's I could use as an input any number I want. They often call that all real numbers. Okay? So I can put any x. There's no place where this parabola is stopped. So 6 and 7 are part of the answer, but that would be a partial answer. It's like out of, an infinite number of numbers, you got 2 of them. Okay, so, for the range is not all real numbers. So the range, remember, is your y's. So start at the bottom of the graph. This graph does not exist when you go below 4. It starts at 4, and then it goes forever in the positive, infinitive, infinity direction. So what we're going to say is that y is greater than or equal to negative 4. And this is the part that's going to be different for each graph. For now, for this class, your domain is basically always going to be all numbers. Because we're not doing the ones that go sideways. That's a senior level conic section thing. They're actually trying to do that right now. It's complicated. Yep, we'll have lots of things that are not functions. It gets exciting. So then we we do have to look at it and decide where it starts and where it goes to. So it's bigger than or equal to -4, -4 or above. So this is all the stuff. I will give you something basically just like this. You're going to fill it out. That's the quiz. It just won't be necessarily that graph. Okay, so we're going to do, oh, and we should also write that the min on here is -4. So the lowest it just goes is -4. So minimum is one of our vocab words. If they ask you to get it, it's -4. That's as low as it goes. Exactly. It's like limbo, but it's, you know, the minimum. And some of them is, you know, maximum. So, everybody, still copyrighted. So I'm going to wait just a second, make sure everybody gets that. Then we're going to flip over and look at the next page and just go through and label and list some things. Okay. Ready? Okay, flip. So on the other side, it says identify all parts of the parabola. So first, it wants to know the vertex, and it wants to know if it's a maximum or minimum. This isn't a sentence, so I'm kind of interpreting it. It's telling you. So first of all, what is the vertex? Okay. It wants to know exactly what that point is. So the vertex is -1, 4. And I'm making sure I'm putting that with vertex so it's like obvious, or I'm going to have right vertex equals. Okay? And it is a maximum, and you can just max. So that answers all. The vertex is this, it's a maximum, and I can say that the max is +4. That's where the graph stops. So I think actually in the same, so I'm also say, okay, it's a maximum, and that maximum is 4. We'll just do the. Okay, now, the axis of symmetry isn't marked. This is going to start color coded a little bit. I'm going to use pink, just because that's what I used last year, so it'll hide now. The axis of symmetry divides this in half, so you have to figure out that's through the vertex. And we have to write for that vertical line. That vertical line goes through the x at -1. So the equation is x equals -1. Okay? I have to have the x equals. I kind of let some stuff go when I was reading. Some of some of the stuff written, it was just smashed together, not labeled. So just be careful that you are answering every question, that you are labeling things. Also, put your name on paper. You guys are some middle schoolers. This class is always one note on paper. So put your name on your paper. It's funny because the 4th and 5th grade teacher was complaining about us. It was the same. I know, we just need to do. Okay, so it wants to know what my x-intercepts are. There are 2 ways to answer it. So -3 and +1. So what I'm going to do is kind of like make those the same color on here. So it goes through the x-axis, -3 and 1. When you get into algebra classes, sometimes they'll want you to say it's -3, 0, and 1, 0. We're doing right now, this is fine. Okay, what is my y-intercept? It's 3 right here. So this is, make that green, and I'm gonna say that it is +3. Guys, I'm recording, so we probably ought to make this long video with lots of background noise. Okay, what is the domain? What is the domain? It's axis. For this is all, so for you guys, this is up and down, it's going to be all numbers. That's just what it is. Now, range is not real numbers. Good, so I'm going to say y, because range of the y is less than or equal to 4, because it's going from 4 and down. So 4 at the top, and then I went on that. So if it's less than or equal to 4. So hopefully that makes sense. Probably the hardest part is coming up with your range. Okay. So let's see, you guys ready? Need it? Okay. So let's go to the next one. I think people might be looking ahead. So I'm gonna follow the part. What is the vertex? So it's -1, -1. What is it? It's -3 because you can go x and y. That's the vertex right there. Is the vertex an acronym? It is minimum value for my graph. That's how low it goes. Does that make sense? Okay, where is my axis of symmetry? It's a -1 again. It's not always going to be -1, but it has to be then. The x equals wherever it hits the axis right here. Ah, good eye. There are no x intercepts, so here's none. That's easy. And some of those x, what we're going to find out when we get into the quadratic formula is that we're trying to look for roots and x-axis, sometimes it doesn't. But then we can all think about another and where the imaginary numbers live. We can just answer the question. So it's exciting. What intercept? Okay, that's my y-intercept. And so we are gonna write 5 domain. All the numbers about the range. Y is greater than or equal to 3. It starts 3 and goes up. It's important to say y.